This is a CWS episode celebrating prosperity, making fire and kindling humanity, amplifying the stories of growth across Wales, the British Isles and the world. This is about teamwork, my evolutionary edge in partnership with Coed, Lleol, the Small Woods Association, Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, the Pembrokeshire Outdoor Health Project, Cynefin Green Health Hub, Wild Swim Wales, Celtic Deep, Find Blue Freedom, the University of Wales, Trinity St David's and many others. We're planning to document the Pembrokeshire Outdoor Health Projects and the Cynefin Green Health Hub, celebrating collaboration in action. This is a man dreaming, speaking his mind in the forest. You cannot control the waves, but you can learn to surf. And life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. This is an episode which is a pitch for a new paradigm, rooted in prevention, collaboration, involvement, integration, and long-term thinking, framed by law and morality, and aligned with the well-being of future generations in Wales. It's about prosperity, abundance, dynamic equilibrium, celebrating teamwork, forming, storming, norming, and performing. Being a visionary, being a dreamer, I need movement for my old ADHD brain. I'm getting older, adding hypertension to the list after an autistic burnout, learning through mistakes, learning discernment, learning who and what to trust. This is an episode for those who dream of a new and better world, for those who want to be part of Welsh legacy projects celebrating Hiraeth and Cynefin, for those who know that nature is medicine, for those who know that teamwork makes the dream work. This is CWS. Welcome to our world. I am Svend, and today is Conversations with Svend. I've always, there is an expressions. There are expressions, isn't there? I have to speak to somebody sensible once in a while, so I speak a lot to myself, and I'd like to hear, how many who listen to this have very meaningful conversations with themselves, and how many have friendly dialogues, sometimes maybe very self-critical talks with themselves, etc., etc. I think this episode, which is going to be me and all my different selves as somebody who's worked in the acting profession, I'd say that everybody has many different selves, and being oneself is actually more difficult than what So basically, yes, so this is Moni Yakim in his book. What is it called now? Well, it's a very, very good book on acting. And he talks about having many different selves and accessing those selves. So we all have a vulnerable self, an authentic self, a confident self, a trusting self, a social self, and there may be more. I think he talks about 6 archetypes, etc. I've shared this book, this resource, with various people, and I think it's a very beautiful book. But basically, this, I think, might be the 14th episode of Conversations with Svend, and the 14th gene key is, in the I Ching, it is prosperity in great measure. and it's about riches and the ability to make fire, etc. And I have been working in my teamwork here in West Wales. I've been working on making fire, and I had Tara Crunk, whom I met in Glasbren, where I also met Caitlin, who is my editor for the Conversations with Svend. I realized that CWS, which is our branding now, is Conversations with Svend, and it's also Caitlin with Svend. And I've always had this vision, because I am a visionary, and so it's really about teamwork, and it's about global and local teamwork. So I've always had this vision with Caitlin to use her manifestor abilities. I'm an early adopter of talent. I spot people also spending so much time within the film and television industry. I know how to spot when people have talent, etc. So Caitlin is an adventure filmmaker, and we have then been working with a multitude of different organisations, including West Wales Action for Mental Health and the powerhouse, who is Angie Darlington, and everybody who knows Angie knows how much love she puts into promoting and speaking about mental health, and maybe doing mental health in West Wales. We are in Wales, and in Wales we have the Wellbeing of Future Generations Acts, which speak about that all must work within the framework of the 5 ways of working, which are prevention. So I think we all, when we do listen to ourselves, we know when we're kind of on a way down, etc. But when public bodies actually work in a preventative way, and then it speaks about collaboration, it speaks about involvement and integration, and then on a long-term basis. And since I learned of this Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, which is from 2015 here in Wales, I learned from Leanne Bird from Find Blue Freedom when we were planning the first deep dive nature talk, which is when Caitlin first entered as co-presenter, co-director and co-producer, and I want to introduce her as co-presenter in a forthcoming episode, which will be with Lucy Davis and with, I like to call Lucy Rose Davis, and then Duff Mills, and it'll be this surfing podcast with the metaphor of life. You, what is it now? You cannot control the waves. You can learn how to surf. Or you can learn how to serve, and you can learn how to create networks and teamwork, etc., and prosperity, and you can learn how to thrive. I think we are all growing and learning through the challenges that are put in our way and obstacles, and reframing those into learning curves. So really, if anybody who's listening who's afraid of doing something, there is no mistakes. Everything is learning. Everything is about evolving. And if you sleep on the floor to avoid falling out of bed, as Marshall Rosenberg would say, who spent his life developing techniques of speaking in non-violent ways, non-violent communication, etc. Marshall Rosenberg. I learned about Marshall Rosenberg. I did know about him, but I was reminded of Marshall Rosenberg and nonviolent communication, speaking peace, with one of our pillars on this podcast, who is, I'm happy to say, my dear friend, Shelley J. Whitehead, who has a community online called The Enchanted Community. I'm part of this community. I pay, I think, £10 per month, and then there's 2 coaching calls, etc. And Shelley is basically our relationship expert at CWS, and I do have some plans. But anyway, we have man's best friend here. Hi. Yes, I would love to. I basically recorded with Shelley in London. I was staying with her when I was attending. I mean, when I say we, I mean my multiple cosmic selves. I was very autistic. But I was attending the Gene Keys conference, so it was global and local teamwork. So I met Elijah there in person for the first time. I met Tan Meyer, who had told me about it, and I met also Richard Rudd, and I had a few hugs, and I was quite autistic, and I was a bit practicing conversations with self, which is a kind of tantric practice. I also participate in Jameer's retreats, full body orgasmic retreats in Derbyshire, and that is a tantric kind of way of sometimes Tantra is about connecting with self and connecting with divinity and connecting with others in a divine way. However, it is very important to practice connection with self, because everything in our lives, any other relationship evolves from our relationship with self. So I'm in a very special place here. It is a secret. I don't want too many people to come here, but basically in West Wales I do have a very magical life, and I was going to record. So anyway, there was a plan to this, which I kind of forgot. Yeah, so Shelley Day Whitehead, she told me in our podcast that we did together, we recorded there, which was the first one I recorded on my DJ Osmo Pocket 3. And yeah, basically I stayed with I really like when I can have film crews around and people who do the teamwork. But basically, Shelley and I, we recorded a podcast which was authentic, and it was touching about her neurodivergence, etc. But we recorded at her home, and she revealed that she would like to do a podcast called Love is a Skill, and I think learning the skills of love is a good title. So I would love our teamwork to be involving Shelley and being part of launching this Learning the Skills of Love podcast, because we all need to learn to relate. And of course the Gene Keys is about purpose. What are you here to be? And also, what are you here to do? What is your life's work? And what is your evolutionary edge? And that is purpose, and then partnership, That is Venus, that is romance, that is love. Who is your connections, your alchemical alliances, etc., and how can you open your heart, etc. So, and then there is the prosperity teachings of the Gene Keys called The Pearl. And this podcast is specifically initiated during a Pearl sequence a few years ago. And Caitlin is a manifestor in human design. I'm a projector. So my strategy is waiting for recognition and invitation. I also do have the initiation ability in my stability. So I initiated through Caitlin's invitation, her being able to assist me with practical editing and filming. And I would like to evolve this team. So basically, Caitlin and I, we've been working with Alison Moore from Coed. We work with Hannah Brickham of Coed, Becky, Ranwood Cormac, so many. And then Andy Darlington then referred me to Sean Davey. And I have also worked with Sean and Andrew Duckmore doing a podcast that was also Caitlin's co-production, co-direction. We recorded at Sean and Lynn's home, their healing garden. It is close to Cardigan, and they also have a holiday let, which you can rent that beautiful cottage that we recorded in. And then, yeah, who else? Cavs, Michael Jonas from Cavs. Then I spoke to, is it Lauren Blacklord Jones from the Awards for All. We have, of course, recorded with James Moore from Trinity St. David's, Moore Travel Consultancy, and Wendy Deering. We have worked with both. Is that the Institute of Social Innovation or something like that? Anyway, I don't have a degree in innovation, but I am an innovator. I invent new ways of doing things. Yeah, so Caitlin and I, CWS, Caitlin with Svend, we have been working, and we are inviting Lucy Rose Davis, who is an amazing adventure filmmaker, climber, trained in outdoor, and we want to do a podcast called You Cannot Control the Waves, but You Can Learn How to Surf. And that is with Duff Milnes, who works also with Tonic Surf and involving Trinity St. David's University of Wales, who is now studying for a Masters of Outdoor Psychology. And Duff has an incredible healing story with surfing, and of course Sean Davey, whom I have recorded with Andrew Duckmore, and Duff, but Angus Hewlett, we need you. Basically, anybody who does film and television or any kind of like sound. In the beginning there was sound. In the beginning there was sound. Sound is so important, and if the sound is good, then you will keep listening. So Gus, we have an offer for you. You can refuse, but I would love you to be involved. And then Lucy Rose, and so we are having that podcast. I trust it'll happen. I got myself a wetsuit. I got myself a Cressy one. Finisterre, if you are listening, we do want you to sponsor and be involved with the Kindling of Humanity and the Stories of Growth project. I think it's going to be riveting, I think it's going to be epic, and I think it's going to be an evolutionary tale of collaboration, integration, involvement on a long-term basis, focusing on a preventative approach, as in the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act and also the Social Services Act, of course, focus on well-being. So I'm also speaking to the local authorities, Pembrokeshire County Council and also Carmarthenshire County Council. Let's all get together and create a world in which we can all thrive, not barely survive, but we can all thrive. And that is what nature wants us to do. That is what nature is doing here. I'm keeping my beautiful serene setting a little bit secret because I want it for myself. But those who like and love musts, those beautiful musts, the Must-Loving Society. Yeah, I'm a member of the Must-Loving Society myself. Yeah, where were we? Yeah, so basically, Kindling Humanity, it is happening. And recently I have reconnected with Leanne Bird of Fine Blue Freedom and Sue Christopher of Wild Swim Wales, and of course everybody who knows my journey and my story knows how much I love swimming, wild swimming. I do wild swimming because it's wild, and I do free diving because it's free. And so I work with Celtic Deep, Wild Swim Wales, Fine Blue Freedom, and also so many of these other organisations. And then of course we got the Cynefin Green Health Hub in Carmarthen, where we want to have conversations with Wendy Daring and James Moore of University of Wales, Trinity St David's, and then also Mortavel, and James has connected me with Lara of Pegasus Wales. We are in the year of the horse, and Lara and I were supposed to broadcast her phenomenal energetic yesterday. Unfortunately, Lara is not well right now, so we've had to postpone, but I do want to bring on this podcast as well with Lara and Pegasus Wales, who is doing so much for the well-being movement, medicine, etc. So where were we? Yeah, so that is in the mix, and it's got to happen, but I don't know when it's going to happen. And I'm learning to be very patient because, as I think there is a saying, man proposes but God disposes, whether you believe in God or not, the universe, whatever. So where are we? Yeah, Kindling Humanity. Basically that is prosperity, and that is this symbol of being able to make fire. So we got a few themes. We got, you cannot control the waves, but you can learn how to surf. And both Duff and Sean has been involved in surfing and surf therapy. And we want to explore these kind of ways of allowing the instinctive self. That's one of the Moni Yakim's one that I think I forgot. The instinctive self. We all have the instinctive self, the wild man or the wild woman, and we are made to be free and wild and instinctive. And so my feeling and my instinct is to connect with nature because we are nature. And this is also a very special spot for the CWS podcast, because even prior to the inception and the initiation of this podcast, I came here with Caitlin Kimchlin and we recorded her direction and her production of healing within in nature. And now we are pitching this as Welsh legacy projects. Wales is, in my estimation, world leading when it comes to nature well-being, social prescription, and the kinship between man and nature. Cynefin and hiraeth, and we want to share that with the world. We want to work for a prosperous world, a prosperous Wales and a prosperous world, a resilient Wales and a resilient world, and a world aligned with future generations. So the 14th gene key is about this prosperity in great measure, and I'm very grateful to my friend Rob Young Jr. His father was Rob Young Sr., and he was a crooner, and he was one of the first to introduce electric guitars in his music. If you listen to the beautiful track called Solitaire, it's very wonderful. So Rob has the 14th gene key in his life's work, and he has been very instrumental in me being here and sitting here, because I was diagnosed with autism in the age of 20, in the year of 2020, the age of 50. But time, past, present and future, it's all now, and I'm speaking to you here now because I have a little bit more of a network, and I didn't have that prior. And it is very exhausting for somebody on the autistic spectrum to mask and pretend. And so what I need, because I'm a leader, and I know Caitlin is a leader, Caitlin basically has the 21st gene key in her life's work, and that is authority. And I have the 24th gene key, which is invention, and then my evolutionary edge is the 44th gene key, which is teamwork, and hers is resourcefulness. And Rob has that, by the way, also in his evolutionary edge, resourcefulness and team, wisdom, that is. So anyway, so where were we? Yes, I've had James Cozier on this podcast, and he is one of those people who have spoken vulnerably and authentically about being neurodivergent. And I'm one of those people who have found life very difficult being neurodivergent. There is a super power to it, and there is an awareness, self-awareness that comes with it. But I found it very difficult, and I know people who are not with us today because of appearing high functioning and not being able to get that help that they really deserve, etc. So that's also another thing. But so that's where maybe leadership, etc. comes in, that I think, unfortunately, growing up in the societies that we've grown up in, a lot of the time leadership is kind of crushed, and we are taught not to be too much and not too loud and not to anything. And so that's where, for instance, like when I see Caitlin, and you see authenticity is entering the room, and there is something about the shamanic. Authenticity has power, and leadership has power. And sometimes when people are not comfortable about leadership and authenticity and power, it's really because they haven't integrated those qualities within themselves. So what I would like to do, Laura and I also want to talk about forming community, etc. But finding the teamwork, finding those teams where you can authentically be yourself. It is really quite exhausting to have to act and pretend and mask, etc. And I personally have come to the last leg of that. I cannot do it. However, I also learned through experiences that I need to be with people that recognize that authenticity and want the authenticity and vulnerability Authenticity is the doorway of vulnerability. However, you need to be discerning. You need to use, that is my radiance, discernment. The 13th gene key, listening. So it is not advisable to be vulnerable with just anybody. Again, this is discernment, finding those fractal families, allowing those people to come into your life with whom you can be authentically vulnerable and who want to invite you to speak and who has something to say as well. So the CWS podcast is very much teamwork, and we celebrate each and every one of the guests who appear on our podcast. So the inception, Shelley J. Whitehead, you can go back and watch that one. Our first podcast, we speak about overcoming heartache and what heartache teaches us, and the Gene Key speaks about this living with a permanently open heart. And as somebody who's had my heart broken, I want to live with my heart cracked wide open, and that takes discernment, that takes selectiveness, and you need to be with people who can handle that, really. But so where are we now? Yeah, so then Jema's, that's another. So I promote retreats I go to. So I went to Jema's full body orgasmic retreats. I've gone twice. And I'm going again in September from, what is it? Is it the 18th to the 20th of September? I think it is. It is in Derbyshire, beautiful spot. So I'm inviting people from the film and television community, from the CWS community, to come with me and participate. And another retreat, that was then our third podcast with Kerry, is with Kerry Veach, and that is a very special one for me because Caitlin then came with Gus Hewlett to my home in Pencada, and we recorded with Kerry about rebirthing in warm water. Kerry is a very deep and shamanic woman, and she works and invites people to her rebirthing in warm water retreats with Pablo Castro. And I've got a little clip with them from the retreat last year. It's in Forest in Wales, close to Abergavenny in the United Kingdom. And this year's retreat is from the 8th of July till the 12th of July. And I would like to invite everybody who watches this to come. I know maybe not all of you will be able to come, but those who hear the call, come and join us for this rebirthing, return to innocence, enter a realm as when you were a child, innocent, come into this world full of love and full of the vibration of love. And rebirthing is very powerful, using the element of water. It is an incredible practice, and Kerry is a deep and vulnerable woman, and Pablo is a wonderful man. I also met Pablo's wife, so with love to Pennsylvania, where of course I've recorded with Elijah from the Gene Keys. The fourth episode with Jem Ayers is with Jem Ayers, and we are speaking about my experience and of attending a full body orgasmic retreat, and I am feeling very far from full body orgasmic. However, I do have an experience, and I'm going again this year from the 18th to the 20th of September, and I'll go I'm hoping that I can go to stay with my friend in Hall Green. I have also just reconnected with the EFT and Matrix Reimprinting and EFT master Carl Dawson, who is also the founder of matrix reimprinting, and I will be attending his courses in Stratford-upon-Avon, and that is from the 7th of May till the 11th of May. I am 57 this year, and if my energy levels allow, and basically I suffered an autistic burnout last year. I trusted somebody, and I trusted people that I could be myself and speak my mind, and I had quite a negative experience. So I've suffered an autistic burnout, and I have also been diagnosed with hypertension, and I do not want to die yet. I want to live before I die. That's the 28th gene key. The fear of living, the fear of dying, and the fear of not living. I am afraid of dying before I have lived fully. So I'm going back to face my fears with the EFT and matrix reimprinting community, and I want to practice that because I've trained in that. I've actually already gone to attend Carl's courses 5 times. If I have energy, I'm 57 on the 2nd of May this year, and I think Lara, Pegasus Wales, the fire horse, she is raising funds for the Welsh Air Ambulance, and I do want to do a little promotion for Lara, her fundraising. So she's raising £3,000 for the Welsh Air Ambulance, and she's doing something. She's running up one of those hills, following Kate Bush's footsteps, running up that hill. I can't remember exactly, but she is saying basically a lot of people, they get lost in the hills, and I got lost when I was young. I got lost in the bookshop, and I still have traumatic experiences. And when I'm out in nature, I need somebody like Caitlin or somebody like Travis, the son of Sue, or somebody who knows their direction, or I need to have my phone with me so I can use the sat-nav and all this sort of stuff, because I would like to learn to read maps. So if there's anybody out there that want to teach me, then please. And so if I have the energy, I don't know if I do have the energy, but I'd like to run up at least one of the hills. Is it the Penny Fan? Is it? No, I can't remember, but I've gone there before when I was a little bit more fit. I did once attempt running up Ben Nevis, and I ran till I was out of sight. And then I started walking, but it's beautiful, and I do love nature. And where are we? Kindling Humanity, that is basically the theme, making fire. So I've gone to a lot of social prescription, nature wellbeing courses, and this was out in Pembrokeshire. And I was making fire in a very damp wood life, or I was basically not making fire, but I was making smoke, and I was making all sorts of, I got an ember, but I didn't actually succeed, make fire. And then when I had Tara Crank, this was after I did the first rebirthing warm water with Kerry Reach and Pablo Castro. When was that? 2024? Then I made fire, and Kim Chilin Caitlin, she recorded on video, and this is the metaphor for prosperity, this ability to make fire. And also Maya Sparrow, who's also been on my podcast, talking about the Wild Biome Project, eating raw and wild for a month. So is looking for the tribes to connect, and that making the fire, going out foraging and preparing food together and feasting together. So that call is also there. But anyway, so after we did these podcasts, Kate and I together, then we came together at Kinefin Green Health Hub. We're also with, so Kindling Humanity, our team so far is Caitlin Longden, adventure filmmaker. She is basically a manifestor in human design. She is a powerhouse of energy. And then we got Gus Hewlett, sound enthusiast and magician when it comes to sound, and roll microphones. If you're listening, roll microphones. So roll is Danish. Roll. So it's not really roll. I don't know why. I'm Danish. So roll microphones. Roll. See, it's difficult for me even to speak Danish now. But Lleol microphones is actually an Australian brand, but Lleol is Danish. And Lleol microphones, we want waterproof microphones. Listen up, Lleol microphones. We want waterproof microphones so we can capture the essence of wild swimming and the excitement and the jubilation and the shock when the cold water hits us and we go, ah, and then we feel ecstatic because we forget our suffering and we forget the existential angst, and we actually enjoy the existential kink of suffering in the water. So Lleol microphones, you could be a great sponsor for us, and we will broadcast your... And yeah, we need microphones and we need sound. So Gus is our sound magician. And then we're calling in Lucy Rose. She is an incredible, talented filmmaker. She's gone to Greece. I know she's gone to Greece. Mark and Sarah, if you listen, I would like to come to Greece. I have an open invite to come to Greece. I'd like to do a podcast in Greece with Caitlin. I'd like to go to Greece because I got an open invite and I could do with a holiday. But I've been speaking about my system so you must have a must column. So I must do one podcast per month that I myself would like to. I must do one podcast per month that I myself would like to watch. So for that I need to talk to people, invite people, etc. And then I want sponsorship, I want a line, but so I have a column with must. I must do this. I must produce one podcast with my team per month that I myself would like to watch. I like to surprise myself, I like to surprise others, and I must do that, to be frankly, Franklin D. Roosevelt, if you are listening. I also have been watching D-Day. I was once in a film called D-Day Assassins. Andrew died very tragically of a very rare kind of disease. He was only 39, I think. Andrew Mason, I think. What's his name now? Andrew Jones, I think. He did a few films. I was in a few low budget. I think it was almost like a low budget. But I've been in a lot of low budget and zero budget productions in my acting career, and it is exhausting. So we want the big money, we want the big productions, but we'll start with the £20,000 from the Awards for All. Please do hand them our way. We have a community-led project. So Alison Moore from Coed, we got Matt Lister from the Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, Joe Monks from the Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, we've got Leanne Bird from Find Blue Freedom, Sue Christopher, Travis Christopher from Wild Swim Wales, we got Richard Rees and Emma Davis and their crew from Celtic Deep, and then Kinefin, Green Health Hub, we'd like James Moore to be involved, Wendy Daring. I would like Tara Crank to have a session where we could also make fire. It's so empowering and so beautiful. That would have to be in the summer months. And then we also want Maya Sparrow to come and teach her life skills, and Becky Brandwood Cormack at Kneffin Green Health Hub. So what we're basically inviting people to is sessions which will be free. And Marks and Spencer's, if you're listening, I would like us to provide food for the sessions. And Marks and Spencer's, I like going to Marks and Spencer's when I feel a bit upcoming and thriving, and I like to spend in Marks and Spencer's food. So we would like Marks and Spencer's to sponsor that, the food for these podcasts, especially at the Kneffin Green Health Hub, and other sponsors may come forth, sponsors, but we want to have free food for the podcast, actually this is not podcast, but free food for the podcast, but also free food for those free sessions we're going to put on. And when we say free, it means that they have value. They're very valuable, they're not free. I have worked more than 1 year. I worked since, I probably work at least 14 months, since prior to November 2024, I persevered to 2025. So this is like since I became a father, my life has changed. So when I gave birth to the CWS podcast, and I'm keeping this little baby alive, and the kindling, I'm keeping this little flame alive, the flame of kindling humanity, and so my life is responsibility. So that's where leadership comes in. Seeing the world and the mess the world is in when we don't have the vision of the 18th gene key, and seeing the perfection is tough at times, and there can be a tendency for sensitive people just to zone out and go, this is too crazy, I can't get involved. But you must be involved, and you must stay in the game. And you can see when it comes to leadership, whatever you and I do, we can't possibly do worse than the leadership that is in the world today. And we must face the corruption within ourselves. We must face the different self-destructive tendencies, addictions, etc. And we must have open and honest conversations about that. So I'm beginning to open up. On James' course here, I always get a lot from our financial education on the CWS podcast from James. And I'm having vulnerable conversations about money on this podcast. And basically, this month I have curbed my spending. I'm basically paying off debts, and I'm not spending any money, but I could do with a little bit of money coming in. So Kindling Humanity, yeah, sponsorship deals are opening. Who else? Finisterre, you're already working with Tonic Surf, and Sean Davey, you work with Tonic Surf, so you could be a sponsor for the Kindling Humanity and Stories of Growth. It is of course blue prescribing, and it is green prescribing. So the fire of digestion, the fire of power, and keeping those flames alive along the shoreline. So we need wood. We need to have a fire when we do the wild swimming session. We want to do a nature well-being session. So basically, Leanne Bird and Sue Christopher work together, and they provide outdoor health and well-being, and they do mindfulness and heartfulness in nature. And so we are going to film one session with them on location in Pembrokeshire, and it could be Hilton Court or it could be Knowlton Haven. And it will probably be Knowlton Haven because at the moment I'm participating in a course with Leanne and Sue, and Karen and Sammy also there. I want to introduce Karen's story. She's caring for her mother and an unpaid carer, and then I want to introduce Sammy, who's also on the spectrum of autism, and then we want to do a valuable session, a very valuable session. So sign up, but if you sign up, it comes with an absolute 100% commitment to be there, and do not take a space for somebody else. So do come, but come with a commitment. And I am 100%, I've got skin in the game, so I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there, that I'm not going to not be there. I'm going to be there. But because we are in Wales and we don't know about the weather, we might need contingency planning, etc. So all this, to have people stand by in the film and television industry, costs money. So we need money. So we want funding from Awards for All, and we want sponsors. So Finisterre, you can come on board. And then we got the local community. So Knowlton Haven, we want to make sure that the toilets in Knowlton Haven stay open. And we want to promote the local village hall, because that's also where Sue Christopher and Leanne Bird, they also use this facility now. And then we want to have a session with Celtic Deep, because that has the bravado. And now I actually got a free diving wetsuit, which I bought from Cressy, because Finisterre, you didn't respond to my nice email I sent to you, Finisterre. Please respond to my call now. I want you to be involved as a sponsor.
And then who else? DJI. I'm filming this on my DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And Caitlin also has a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and she's got a drone, DJI drone, and she's got other equipment from DJI. So DJI, you are invited to be a sponsor, and we will give you value, and we will also record other things. Vivo Barefoot, I want you to be involved. I have been wearing these for a very long time. I love my Vivo Barefoot. I love them, and I can tell you honestly that most people in the outdoor health community, they wear Vivo Barefoot. So we want you to be involved as a sponsor. And then COS, I'm wearing COS stores, Scandinavian clothing. Thank you to my sister. Tack till min syster Inger Mette, der sender mig tøj. Og tak til mine venner i Danmark, og tak til min mor, der har givet mig min Osmo Pocket 3. Tak mor, tak for pengene, tak for din hjælp, og tak for din podcast. Og please do come to Kerry and Pablo's Rebirthing in Warm Water retreat. I do want to film, so I'm inviting Caitlin for the last day to come and assist finding testimonials. And I've also offered with Sue and Leanne and Karen and Sammy and Matt that on the last session on the current course that we are at in Norton Haven, I can bring my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and we can record a few like heartfelt live on location testimonials and witness kind of participation statements, because this is the way we attract more funding. And again, we are aligning with the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. So we have the law and morality frame. We've got Welsh legacy, nature is medicine and nature is kinship. We've got Cynefin and we've got Hiraeth. We've got a sense of belonging. And belonging is not fitting in. Belonging is finding your team, finding your people, finding your soul group, finding your fractal family. And honestly, fitting in is exhausting. So anyway, but we gotta find our social self as well. We can't just be too much all the time. I know from personal experience. So anyway, so where were we and where are we? Past, present and future, it's all interconnected. We live in the connected universe, Nishing Haramain, Thrive, the Thrive movement, the connected universe, the International Space Federation in Switzerland. Energy is going to be extracted from the vacuum, and we are all going to live in a very abundant and thriving world. Each and every one of us need to come online and manifest our genius, and genius is in the genes, and we are now in an evolutionary shift where we are moving more from our head into our solar plexus, and that is happening, and I'm moving from my head into my heart as I'm speaking. So we want to record, and so there'll be a session with Celtic Deep on location in West Wales. It could be Manobir, it could be Brides, what's it called? Brides? St. Brides, I think. And it could also be, where could it be? Stackpole. But these are very, very valuable sessions. So do contact Matt Lister from Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum to register an interest to be involved. And if you sign up, show up and come and take part, because it would be absolutely fantastic. So we got a session at Knowlton Haven, session at Hilton Court. There will probably be one day, so Hilton Court, Knowlton Haven, or we'll be at Knowlton Haven, record one session there, and then a wild swimming session with Sue. And we need fire there for the beach, so sponsors are welcome. Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum. We can maybe approach Pembrokeshire County Council, Pembrokeshire Coast. We need all hands on deck, I'm telling you. All hands on deck, and so I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm Svend, I'm all in. This is not the end. This is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Winston Churchill, after the victory of El Alamein. Let's try that one again. This is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Right. So where were we? Yeah, so Celtic Deep, and then we are moving to Cynefin Green Health Hub. So I'm inviting Tara Crank, our beloved Tara, and a fellow on the spectrum, and studying for a PhD, which I believe she might have achieved. Well done. And Becky and Maya, we want to reconnect and have sessions there, 2 sessions of green prescribing, and we want to make fire, and we want maybe finding your voice, singing in nature. I don't know, what could it be? It could be something, and yeah, of course we recorded our first deep dive nature talk there at Cynefin Green Health Hub, and please do go back and watch that with Matt Lister from Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, with Sue Christopher from Wellbeing Wales, with Frankie, Sam, Evans from Coed in Pembrokeshire, and then myself, Svend Emil Jacobsen from the CWS project community, with Society, Caitlin with Svend, co-productions between Caitlin, London, adventure filmmaker and documentary filmmaker, myself. I am, what am I? I'm an actor, I'm a presenter, I am a lover, sounds pretentious. I am a king, lover, warrior, magician, and many different archetypes. We make it, so we fake it. We make it up as we go along. We are magicians, aren't we? And then we've got Richard Rees. No, we got Leanne Bird from Find Blue Freedom, and Richard Rees from Celtic Deep. So let's do that again. So do watch our first deep dive nature talk, Kindling Humanity, Inception. It is recorded at the Green Health Hub in Cynefin with myself, Svend Emil Jacobsen, actor, performer, presenter, magician. It is with Richard Rees from Celtic Deep. It is with Leanne Bird from Find Blue Freedom, and it is with Sam, Frankie Evans from Coed in Pembrokeshire, and Sue Christopher from Wellbeing Wales, and Matt Lister from Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum. Do watch our deep dive nature talks. Our second deep dive nature talk is recorded at location in Ceredigion at the holiday home of Lynn and Sean, and you can rent that and you can go and write there. If you're a writer, it would be a perfect place for writing a book. And there is the Kindling Humanity, the Healing Garden, and that is the second deep dive nature talk. Fortune of Our Fathers, the embodiment of the healthy masculine, and also Welsh legacy, Hiraeth and Cynefin, and Nature is Medicine. And Andrew Duckmore, of course, we want you, Andrew, to be involved. He is really one of the pioneers of nature well-being. Found solace in nature, recovering from schizophrenia, is studying for master's psychology and recovery of psychosis. I just want to say that I am not psychotic and I'm not bipolar. I am on the spectrum of autism, and I am on the spectrum of ADHD. I'm neurodivergent. I'm on the spectrum of neurodivergence, and I'm a very neurodivergent man, but I'm not actually mad. I just carry the credentials. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by posing end them. Sometimes the people who are not mad end up getting mad because the world is mad world. But anyway. So where are we? Yeah, so we want to do that, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, happening. Money is coming. I don't believe in affirmation, but money is arriving at the Coed account because we've asked for it very nicely, and we put in a fantastic community-led application. So sponsorships are being sought. So far we got, who do we have? Lleol Microphone, Marks and Spencer's Food, Finisterre, DJI, Vivo Barefoot, Cost Stores. Who else? Who else wants to be involved? Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum can ask nicely, ask the Pembrokeshire County Council. Have you got any connection? Paths, maybe we can ask them. We can ask the Carmarthenshire County Council. We can ask local shops in Carmarthen, like Carmarthen Cameras. I got my tripod here, Benro tripod from Carmarthen Cameras, and I got my Lleol microphone. Is it NT1? Can't remember. I can remember. I think it's an NT1, or is it N1T? Is it XTC? Ecstasy? Bulletproof, if you want to come on board. I do like Bulletproof. I drink it every day. And is it MTC oil from, what is it? Keto Sauce, I think. Keto Sauce, I get it from. I buy it from Damien at Keto Sauce. So if you want to be involved sponsoring the CWS podcast and the Kindling Humanity project, do give us a call. My mobile number is 07807 071708. I've had that number for a very long time. There was a time when I was living in my caravan and this number was lost in cyberspace, and it was lost between 3 and EE, I think. And I got it back because it's my number, 07807 071708. I'm available on WhatsApp, and you can contact me nicely and respectfully. My office hours is between 9 and 3. So don't call me at night, don't send me late night messages or anything like that. But I am available for sponsorship deals with those who match our brand and our values. So Caitlin and I, we're about teamwork, we're about collaboration, we're about involvement, we're about integration on a long-term basis, and we would like to form these alchemical alliances. So we've got Shelley J. Whitehead, our dating and relationship coach friend. We want to be a part, the CWS podcast, of launching that Learning the Skills of Love podcast with Shelley. I want to connect with Caitlin and Shelley and talk about that. And then we're planning a podcast with our dating and relating expert, Shelley J. Whitehead, and then our financial literacy and financial educator and financial freedom and lifestyle by design expert, James Cozier. And we want to have a podcast about love and money, money and love of money and money, and how money and relationship is connected, and how our relationship with money is also to do with our nervous system, regulation, etc., etc. So I'm kind of in this process of looking at my addictive patterns, and I can get very excessive. When I get obsessive, I get very obsessive. I have films that I've watched about 95 times, and some of my great opening lines when I say, I don't think I've ever seen a woman quite as beautiful as you, that comes from Far From the Madding Crowd. And that is actually Francis Troy, Sergeant Francis Troy, saying that to Miss Bashaba Eberdeen. And Yes, I do like my opening lines, but I watch a lot of films and I'm very obsessive, and I do like quality. Quality always costs less, so thank you to my sister for sponsoring my clothes today. Tack inga metafor att send den smukke skjorte her. Og tak til min mor for DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Jeg er meget taknemmelig. And I want to go and have a session. There's another lady that I'd love to introduce in this podcast is Daff St. Clair of Coed Hill Arts Retreat Centre. She is the sister of Rawley Clay, and basically she has married Howell George, so I suppose her name is Duff George. Now I did go to their wedding. I was unfortunately not very well. I ended up being very ill and lying in the corner of Coed Hill Arts Retreat Centre. I lay on the mattresses where I've gone to the family constellation event. You can go there with the gentleman from the Czech Republic, Peter Malik, and other facilitators, Eleanor, and I of course met Miranda there, who's now a mother. But I want to go and have a session with Duff around family and money, mother, because I wanna master the area of money. And Caitlin is very good with money. She's got the 48th gene key in her evolutionary spirit, resourcefulness and wisdom. Rob is very good with money. He's got the 48th gene key in his sphere of culture. And I have a line 5 in my pearls, so I am also very good with money. I just need to learn to manage it a little bit better. So thank you to my banking associations, Halifax, NatWest, and thank you to everybody who is part of my life, because I feel prosperity is really about caring and sharing. And thank you to Kerry and Pablo. I will come to your retreat from the 8th till the 12th of July in Forest, in Abergavenny, close to Abergavenny in Wales, in the United Kingdom. I'm inviting people from the various worldwide communities to fly in. You can also find Pablo and Kerry in Florida, and you can find them around the world. They are world travelers, and they are healers and shamanic healers, and birthing a new world, rebirthing, return to innocence, return to love. Yeah, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. As James was saying in the podcast, this is Marianne Williamson and Nelson Mandela. He is quoted for saying that in his inauguration speech in South Africa. So there are some thoughts so far. Some thoughts. So who else have we had on our podcast? So I initiated the Gene Keys conversation and guidance space. So I've had Elijah entering the fractal doors of perception. That one has now have 1.2k views, and I've initiated using Opus clips recommended by James Cozier, and some of my podcasts with Shelley has had 1.8k views. The one we're speaking about, overcoming loneliness, which is obviously one of the big problems, is loneliness. Overcoming loneliness. So I can repeat from Harville Hendricks: nobody has any friends. You need to go out and make some. Nobody has any friends. You need to go out and make some. And a good place to make friends is the Social Prescription and Nature Wellbeing outdoor kind of community. So get on the list. Write Matt Lister from Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum. Write Joe Monks from Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, and get on the list for the Pembrokeshire Outdoor Health Project. You can contact James Moore from Kinefin Green Health Hub. You can join the social media Facebook group, Kneffin Green Health Hub, and I don't know if they're on Instagram, but you can follow the CWS podcast. You can follow Caitlin Lleol London, and you can follow Lucy Rose Davis, and you can follow Gus Hewlett, and you can follow and you can join these projects and you can make friends. I mean everything can go wrong, isn't it? Social prescription. I would like to record a podcast where we talk about social anxiety, and one of the examples I have with Caitlin, many times I'm saying that I think for somebody with ADHD and that has this what's it called? It's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So I know whenever I open my mouth, I know that I don't know exactly what's going to come out, because every single thought in the entire universe is going to come into my head and it all wants to come out at the same time. And then, like, I feel a song coming on. I did a Bowie tribute in one of my previous lives, and so one of the songs I performed was 5 years. So it starts like this: pushing through the market square, so many mothers sighing. News had just come over, we had 5 years left to cry in. News guy wept and he told us, Earth, she's really dying. He cried so hard his face was wet, and I knew he wasn't lying. I heard telephones and opera house and favourite melodies. I saw boys' toys, electric irons and TVs. My head, I forget the lyrics now. I'm in the forest and some people are coming. So, do you know the old story? If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? So Sir Ken Robinson, you must go online and watch Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk, Do Schools Kill Creativity? And in that TED Talk he says, he saw a t-shirt and it's basically saying, if a man speaks his mind in a forest and no woman hears him, is he still wrong? So anyway, so where are we now? This is not the end, it is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. This is the end, beautiful friend, of our elaborate plans, of everything that stands. Can you picture what will be, so limitless and free? I don't like the last line, but the last line is desperately in need of a stranger's hand in a desperate land. So that sounds rather kinky. Has anybody read the book Existential Kink? If they haven't, I do recommend it. It's very good. All right. Okay, it might be time for a pause. But I wanted to share a few things. And where do we start? So basically, the end, AI and initiation. So are we at the end of something or the end of the beginning? AI as mirror, amplifier, threat, tool, projection surface. I have a question to everybody listening to this, and everybody who identify or is a woman. What do women think of AI? How do women feel about AI? And what do men think about AI? And what is neurodivergent people's experience of AI? And I'm using AI, and I'd like to ask. So we at CWS, we love female, and we love female-bodied individuals, and we love women, and we love promoting female-led businesses. And one female-led enterprise is Faye, CYD, and it's painting and decorating. And Faye has, of course, produced my podcast wall, which is from Artistic Sponge. I got some, what are they called? Templates or stencils, I think they're called. And Faye and I, we did a project, teamwork, Equilibrium. So she has initiated with Nadia, a female-led entrepreneur enterprise called CYD, and I call it Create Your Destiny. It means something like creating beautifully in Welsh. So that is one enterprise that I'd like to promote. And then we got Lara Griffiths of Pegasus, Wales, who is a triathlon coach, an athlete. She is raising £3,000 for the Welsh ambulance. And if I get along, we might be able to raise 5,000, who knows. But the Welsh Air Ambulance do so many good things, and of course when people are out in the hills and suddenly get hypothermia or something like that. As myself, I'm one of those persons, I think this is never going to happen to me, and I never thought I was going to have hypertension, but actually I got high blood pressure, and so I asked James Moore, can you recommend me somebody? And he said Lara is good, Pegasus, Wales, and I contacted Lara. And she is now my personal trainer, and I am working with her, and I feel so much better for moving, and I basically move when I've got other people. And this is what this structure of the outdoor health projects is also really good for. It's but what do women think of AI, and what do men think of AI, and how can we use AI in an intelligent way, in a human intelligent way? And who else? Yeah, I promote Leanne Bird, Find Blue Freedom. Caitlin and I, we went stand up for your rights. We went stand-up paddleboarding with her and Find Blue Freedom, and I would still like to go stand-up paddleboarding to a very secret place in Kebba Bay and Mulgrove. I want to go an expedition there sometime. And Sue Christopher, we promote Sue Christopher Wild Swim Wales with Travis and the team, Lucy. They've got a business there, and they're doing wild swimming, and they're doing one day a week is Wellbeing sessions. We invite everybody to come. And we invite people to come to the Cynefin Green Health Hub. We invite people to join in with Tara Crunk's sessions when we put them on. We want to put on sessions, so blue prescribing and green prescribing. So the blue prescribing is to do with the sea and water and the beach, and green is nature, like moss and the forest, and then we want to make fire. So we want to put on some sessions. So we are going to be inviting people to some very valuable sessions. We are hoping, but I'm banking on it. Awards fall, if you're listening, Lauren, Blacklaw, Jones, and everybody who's been involved, we have written the best community-led application ever. It is so good. It is so nice. And Caitlin and I, we did use AI because when I write on my own, it's like connected universe. Every single thought comes in, and it's one very long stream of consciousness, a little bit like this podcast. But basically, I love people, and I love a good story, and we got lots of good stories to tell. We want to tell Karen's story of her mother, old, and her caring for her mother. Her mother had a stroke, and we want to tell Sammy's story about being autistic and coming to these projects, and my own story, setting the scene. So we are setting setting the frame and we're telling the story, and the intrigue is going to be revealed. But the good thing about the intrigue is that we don't know what it is, and that's where the element of surprise comes in. If we knew everything, it wouldn't be so exciting. So what do you think? Is AI replacing connection, or is it structuring clarity? Is it consciousness, or is it computation? Shock precedes awakening. That's me, that's my story. Basically, I awakened through shock. So, where are we now? We are in the forest, and we could have a break, but we've been going almost 64 minutes, which is, of course, in the cosmos, a very special. I mean, there's 64 squares on a chessboard. There's 64 something. There's 64 gene keys. So, yeah, the gene keys after Elijah entering the fractal door of perception, that one has had 1.2k views, and I would like you to watch it. It explains the art of contemplation, and I'm here at what could be a sit spot in the forest, and I could sit here and contemplate and reflect, and thoughts might pop into my head, and I might have insights, and I could share those insights, which is what I'm doing now. And that is one thing that we learn at Leanne and Sue's courses, finding sit spots and sit and contemplate and think about something and maybe solve problems. And so that we are learning from the gene keys. So the gene keys approach, which is gentleness and patience, inquiry, contemplation, etc., etc. And so it is contemplation, it is inquiry, it is gentleness, and it is patience. And then we got the 5 ways of well-being. I can't remember them right now, but it's definitely learning and giving. Learning and giving is there. Learn something, then share that, giving that, then you learn even more. So Caitlin and I, we would like to teach other people to set up podcasting. So we want to initiate the learning the skills of love with Shelley J. Whitehead, our dating and relationship coach friend and our expert at the CWS. So please do connect with Shelley's podcast, my conversations with her. And then, of course, we had, the 5 ways of giving. I can't remember them all, but one is to connect with nature, learning, giving, taking notice, I think, and something. For all neurodivergent people, I want to say that there are more than 5 ways of well-being, but somebody came up with that. Somebody somewhere came up with those 5 ways. And then there's the 5 ways of working, which is framing the Well-being of Future Generations Act, and one of them is prevention. So we want to have working towards having a healthcare system where we have a holistic approach, where we realize that in Wales we've got community and we've got intermediate pathways, and if we can reach somebody early, we can have this community as support, and that's where the social prescription and nature well-being comes in. Cynefin, hiraeth, well-being and its involvement. So we get involved. Caitlin and I get involved in projects. I get involved with life. And to be honest, sometimes I can't be bothered and I sit on the couch, but I need other people, and I need other people to motivate me. So that's where these programs come in, these 6 weeks courses, that there is a structure. So you know you have something on a Monday, you get up and you go there, and that is a good thing. So as all neurodivergent people, we need structure, we need habits, we need integration. Right. So yeah, that's where the structure, like I am neurodivergent, but actually I am Orch ADHD. So I've got this very interesting mix of being an absolute creature of habits. I'm also Taurus. I'm Taurus astrologically, born on the 2nd of May 1969. And then I got Moon in Scorpio and a thick Pisces rising. But basically I am a creature of habit and I love habit and I need that. And then the Orch ADHD, the ADHD part of me then loves spontaneity and loves doing adventurous things, loves doing things that I haven't done before. And I've got in my gene keys chart, in my core of stability, I've got the 51st gene key, so that is that awakening through shock. And so I've got this ability to love people, and I got this ability to do things that I find difficult and then inspire other people to do that. So that's where this metaphor that I've been speaking with Caitlin about doing, that when we have social anxiety, etc., then doing something with other people where everybody's a little bit out of their comfort zone is a good thing. So going to a beach and it's freezing cold and maybe it's raining and you're thinking, like I used to think, like I got ADHD and I got autism, but I'm not crazy. And then I go to a beach in Pembrokeshire and it's maybe raining and it's like this, and you've got these people going into the sea, and I'm thinking, I am crazy, I'm positively crazy. And then with people who are doing crazy things. So doing something like that in a group just creates this excitement, and that's where, but with social anxiety, I've been saying sometimes doing coach steering and dressing up and jumping off a cliff, it's easier than having a conversation with somebody on a Monday morning, and I don't know if this person is for the right or the left or whatever, and suddenly, you know, we got... And peace really comes from inside. So that's 6.5, which I have in my pearl, is peace is in the cells. And before we create peace in the world, we need to create peace within ourselves. And before we teamwork, we need to find the teamwork within ourselves and make our body collaborate with us, for instance. But so having a structure like these social prescription things are really good. And then there is the collaboration. So Caitlin and I, CWS, we collaborate, and we collaborate with Tara. We want to work with Tara. Tara, we want to do a podcast with you. We want to share how it was doing your PhD studies. We want to share your insights about technology and nature. I would also like to invite Andy Darlington to maybe record with me at the CAVS building. We could record with Andy's studio in the cellar. We could speak about what Andy does and how she promotes mental health and the whole thing she's been doing with Sean at Botanical Gardens in West Wales. I want to speak about Angie and Angie's glories. And we want to talk, so integration is another part of the Wellbeing Act. And on a long-term basis, I want to create long-term alliances with people like Shelley, with people like James, with people like, so we go back to I forgot the 5 years, but where were we? I heard telephones and opera house and favourite melodies. I saw boys, toys, electric irons and TVs. My brain heard like a warehouse, it had no room to spare. I had to cram and store so many things in there, and all the tall, short people, and all the fat, skinny people, and all the somebody people, and all the nobody people. I never knew I needed so many people. I always knew that I needed a lot of people, and basically having the 44th gene key in my evolutionary edge, in my evolutionary sphere, I'm basically like a hub, and I connect with so many people, usually creative people. So Caitlin and I are 5.1, profiles in human design and in human, the gene keys. So I'm a 5.1 ego projector. Caitlin is a 5.1 manifester. And we are basically solution focused. We create solutions. Other people may create problems, but we are the ones who can solve the problems, but our fees are very reasonable. We do charge a lot because we're good at what we do. So you can get in touch. Caitlin is a documentary filmmaker. She knows how to set up podcasts. She's initiated this podcast with me, and I want to introduce her to Shelley Day Whitehead. We want to be part of launching sharing the skills of love, learning how to relate. And then another human being that I've had on my podcast here is recently I had Katrini, who is a projector. She's a 3.5 profile. Shelley is a 3.5 profile. And that's about learning through making mistakes. 3 is this adventure, escape artist, learning, making mistakes. And then the 5 is telling other people how to avoid the mistakes. But Katrina and I, we did a podcast recently, and that had quite a lot of views. And one of the clips I put out on Instagram has had more than 4K views. So thank you for everybody for watching that. And yeah, so what we can offer also, Caitlin and I, we do business. We involve ourselves with businesses. So if you have a business and you want a promotional video made, we can come and we can do a promotional video, and we can do a conversation with you, and we can bring that out, and we do opus clips, and we charge a lot, but we are very good at what we do. So if you want that, or if you have a third sector charity organization and you want promotion, then we are here to do that for you. And I've got a few ideas, people I want to connect with. And but anyway, where were we? I want to talk a little bit about fear. So the fear of being too intense, the fear of being too sensitive, the fear of being too political, the fear of being too sexual, the fear of being too honest, fitting in, equaling shrinking, and belonging standing. Are we afraid of AI for the same reasons we are afraid of intimacy, exposure? This is written by AI, so I don't know if I would trust that. But I'd like to know, what do you think about this fear of being too much, too intense, too something, or fear of not living fully, fear of being so scared of being you that you end up shrinking and fitting into the ill-fitting suit of normality. I mean, fuck that, isn't it? And what do you think of swearing? So I used to live in a caravan, and I was piss poor. I've always been I wasn't piss poor, but I was living in a caravan, I was freezing, and I was working in the film and television industry, and I was training to be a massage therapist over at Colic Cigar, and I was driving over there, and I heard a gentleman called Jim Rohn who he taught Anthony Robbins. And he said, if you have a habit like swearing, that can cost you thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds if people don't like that and they don't come to your business. And I used to do comedy, and I used to do my characters. I had my Svend character, and I had my Bowie character. And I used to swear, like in a therapeutic way. And then I think therapeutically if you swear, it's very good. Anthony Robbins does that, etc. But I stopped swearing because I didn't want to scare off people. And I think politics is a division program. And I stopped talking about politics and this and that. But there comes a time where people just have to maybe stop being so scared of being who they are. And basically me suffering an autistic burnout because I cannot fit in, but I do want to belong. It's exhausting trying to fit in. So anyway, I think having a little pause here might be a good thing. Yeah, it's getting long, this recording. Yeah, Yeah. So we've had Katrina, that was a great success. So this one is going to come out, and then I'd like to record something with Sue and Leanne and Matt, Karen and Sammy, and I'd like to record some testimonials from the Outdoor Wellbeing project I'm in now. I'd like to do the podcast with Lara, Pegasus Wales, and I'd like to do the surfing podcast with Lucy and Duff and Caitlin. Anyway, I think now might be a good time for a little break. So I am Danish. I came out of the world, I came out of my mother's womb in Denmark in a little village called Stenderup. And my sister is 20 months older than me, and I have a younger brother, Anders, who's 7 years younger than me. Anyway, in Danish there's a saying, intet så skidt, at det ikke godt for noget. Intet så galt, at det ikke godt for noget. So basically last year I had a shock, and as a result of that, I experienced autistic burnout, and then I've been diagnosed with hypertension. So I already had my credentials as autism and ADHD. But now I got a diagnosis of hypertension, and I connected with James Moore, which I've had on this podcast. One of our nature talks at Kinefin, we spoke about the importance of moving, and I think everybody knows that moving is good, and all children move, isn't it? They move around, and then sometime, and I do think, I want to say this to everybody in Great Britain, do not interrupt the natural place cycle of a child and put them in school too early. They need 7 years of playing and learning through play. I did that in Denmark. It's been good for me, but even the education system was difficult because I was told to shut up and sing along and pay attention to something I had no interest in. And really all I ever wanted to be was a rock star. And then I went to Art Academy to find my band members, but then I went to India, and then I became a Hare Krishna member, and so there was a point to this. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with hypertension, and then James said Lara is good, so I've been doing personal training with Lara of Pegasus Wales, and she is really quite a fire horse and energetic. She is Sagittarius. Sue is Aquarius, and Leanne, I believe, is Leo, and also Emma is Leo. And I have an interest in astrology, and I have an interest in Gene Keys and human design, and I would like to do readings, so maybe I'll start doing some readings. But anyway, so we do need to move. So I was thinking what I've always wanted to do, because my heart is a little bit like, I feel for men and women in this age, and especially I feel for younger women in regards to self and body image, and the constant input of photoshopped images, etc. And also recently I recorded with Stefan Peller James, my dear friend, and we do photo shoots in the Venelt Forest in Cardiff, and I would like to do a pre-Raphaelite one, so natural redheads. Please do get in touch with us. We want to do the King, Warrior, Magician, Lover one, and we do need natural redheads. But one thing I've been thinking about is self and body image and all the potential problems that come from living in a world where there's so much digital stimulation and seeing people posting the perfect image of themselves online, and it's photoshopped, and the self and body image. And I remember when I studied at Coed Cigar, I worked with young women that even though they were so thin, they thought themselves to be fat because etc., and a lot of self and body image. So I'd like to have conversations with women and men about that. And I know Sarah Murphy, who I invited to my podcast, and Sarah Murphy, if you are listening, I'd like to invite you to some of our Deep Dive Nature talks, but I would also like to thank you for the work you're doing about these areas of mental health and body image and eating disorders, etc. And these are some conversations I want to enter into with people who are expert in those things. And being a man, I definitely feel like I don't mind having a pot belly. I think it's kind of sexy to have a pot belly, if you remember Pulp Fiction, wasn't it? But yeah, we do need to move. And so one thing I thought we could do with Carmarthen cameras and Caitlin and photographers, I know a lot of photographers. I know Simon R. Leach and Stefano Pella James and lots of photographers. So we could do like a photo shoot, so we could have people, we could apply for some funding and community lottery funding, and we could then have people engaging in classes like training. You can look up Lara's Pegasus Wales classes. I think she does some fun things, various venues around. But if we could get some funding, then we could have people do exercise, and we could do like a before and then after kind of photo shoot. It could be a lot of fun, and it could be about positive self-love and body image, and so we need money for that. So Sarah Murphy, if you're listening, I'd like to invite you to a podcast and talk about eating disorders and mental health and the work you're doing as a Minister for Mental Health. And then I would like to speak to people about these topics and get money for then very valuable, but we provide them for free classes of exercise and maybe fun runs and all these things. And then we want to do some photo shoots around positive body image and like equity, diversity, inclusive, like all body image, and etc. But I do think we need to move, and in general, if we move and we also, can be healthier and fitter, and we can lose weight, etc., etc. And because I downloaded from Couch to 5K, I downloaded that, and that was all I did. And then I turned off the notification, and I haven't gone for a run. But I actually did go to the Cardigan Park ones, and I would recommend people in Cardigan. And I'd like to reconnect, but I like to go with other people. So that's where the structures come in, teamwork. If there is a structure and there are some classes, then people will turn on. I do recommend, if you are old like me, I'm 56 and 57 this year, you can do the exercise referral scheme. You can go to the GP, and you can go to the leisure centre in Johnstown, very close to the Cynefin Green Health Hub. But Lara and I, we go to another place. I want to keep it a little bit secret because I don't want lots of people to come there, because it's a heaven for neurodivergent people, because there isn't like so much light and music and all that. It's a bit more private. But that's a secret spot which I'm not going to tell about this time. It's part of the intrigue. But yeah, we would like to basically invite people. We would like to invite the Awards for All to give us the money into the Coed account and into the University of Wales, Trin St David's. We'd like to talk to the Arts Council. We'd like to do more promotion, Caitlin and I, CWS, Caitlin with Svend, teamwork. So I want to introduce Caitlin. She's been my co-producer and co-director, and I want to introduce her as a co-presenter with Tara Crank. We want to have a podcast with you, Tara. And we want to have a podcast with Maya and Becky, and we want to have a podcast with Sue and Leanne, and we want to reconnect with James and Wendy from the University of Wales Institute for Social Innovation. Anyway, so this is not the end. This is not the end. It is perhaps not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Right. All right. So this is exciting, the Moss-loving society and me in the forest here. I can't tell where I am because I'm going to keep this secret. Yeah, I want this for myself, but I am in a beautiful spot. Well, I mean, if you're very good and good friends with me, you can come here with me. But Caitlin and I, we've come here recording the inception of Kindling Humanity, which is basically healing within in nature, which Caitlin brought out as university projects. I was a student, second year film, I think. And unfortunately, the third year, I was doing my very best to hoodwink, and people who know me from the old days know that I'm a bit like a hoodwinking artist. That I love to get people. Basically, I'm neurodivergent, and I ask people if they can do things, and I trust that if they say yes, it's because they want to do it. And sometimes I realise that people in other cultures, they say things that they don't mean. Like neurodivergent people, we say what we mean, and sometimes we get in trouble for being too honest, as they say, you're too honest. But can you really be too honest? What does that say about a culture where you have a saying, you're too honest? What does that mean? But anyway, we all know what that means. That means that we can't just speak our mind, and we have to be, understanding where people are at, and we can't just talk nonsense and say things that offend other people. There's always somebody who wants to be offended by something that you will say. You can be sure of that. But also being mindful of other people is a good thing. It's not bad. And too honest means be discerning with who you talk to and find your fractal family, those you can actually be honest with, and speak both your mind and your heart. And yeah, so the CWS podcast is like my baby. Since I become a father, I have to be responsible, and I have to continue to produce content. So my focus, my creative focus, my positive end result is to create at least one long form podcast per month. And I did miss the New Year one because I was basically autistically burned out, and I've been working on a very long and very important legal document going all the way back to the Magna Carta, Article 39. No free man shall be seized. I'll read it to you later. It's a beautiful one. But then I did connect with Katrini, and we did have an attunement online, but then the quality was not good enough for us to bring it out. And her and I being projectors, we need good quality. We can't do shit. We need good quality. So we didn't bring that one out. And Caitlin edited that, and I love the CWS podcast. I think what we have, our creative edge, is our post-production, and I do love that. I do love the post-production. And is the world real, or is it a dream? What do you think? I think it's both. So the dream arc, those who know the Gene Keys, they know about the dream arc. And I do follow the dream arc, and there are dream animals, and sometimes these animals, they come in our dreams, and sometimes, I don't know, how am I going to, so many cameras now, it's my dream. What has happened to this one? Something has happened. Oh. I've zoomed in somehow. How did I do that? I don't know. Anyway, so here we are then, in Carmarthen. So, do you like Carmarthen? Do you find it a nice place to live? So how do we do this? Let's zoom out. Surely it's easy to zoom out and in, is it? See, this is why I like to have a Caitlin, because Caitlin is really an expert when it comes to filmmaking. I'm, in my opinion, my own humble opinion. Am I recording or not? Oh shit, I wasn't recording, I think. In my own humble opinion, I'm better in front of the camera than behind the camera. That's of course a subjective opinion, not necessarily the truth. But when I have Caitlin with me, I feel a lot more confident, and it's like a safety thing, I think. So yeah, Caitlin, I would like you to come to the rebirthing retreat, the last day, the 12th. I mean, of course, if anybody who listens to this feels called, I very warmly recommend Kerry and Pablo's retreats. And I recommend the rebirthing in warm water retreats. And I'm going back on myself because I want to make sure that I got this. Right, anyway, I'm going to go this way. So basically, yeah, so that's something that I've learned through various people that I've worked with. William Whitecloud. I'm not sure. Are you a covert, passive-aggressive narcissist? I'm not sure. I think maybe people can be empathic and understanding. But anyway, I learned a lot from you, and especially I was connected with Robert Fritz's work. And this is this thing about, you know, people who... So basically I'm going back to my EFT and matrix reimprinting community, but I'm already feeling this. Carl Dawson, he wrote a book called Change Your Beliefs, Change Your Life, or something like that. See, I don't actually believe, I align with Robert Fritz, I don't believe that we can change our beliefs. I think we have beliefs, but if we know what we want, we can create what we want. So that's the important thing. And so, what do I want? I want love, I want money, I want success. What is success? That is an interesting consideration. But yeah, so I feel, for me, my must is I must produce at least one long form podcast per month that I myself would watch, and then I must bring out that, and then I must produce some shorts as well, and then I need to talk to people about my podcast and invite people to make applications to come on my podcast. And I've got some people I would like to come. I met Helen from Neurobo on one course she did about neurodivergence in the workplace, and there is the law says that reasonable adjustments for disability, so really people who work are entitled to reasonable adjustments if they have a recognised disability. So yeah, I would like Helen to come on my podcast. I didn't write an email, but I haven't heard back, so I don't know. But the Must-Loving Society, the River-Loving Society. Yeah, I would also like to connect with Sean and Andrew again. It's been a long time. since we recorded last year. I wonder how Sean is getting on with cleaning up the Tywy River. I did actually make an application to Welsh Water. Welsh Water, if you're listening, I would like to do podcasts with you. That's what I put in the application about. And then I would like to invite organisations like Wild Swim Wales and Find Blue Freedom, and also Surfers Against Sewage. And philosophically, I got a little bit of an issue with this whole idea of being against something. I would rather call it, if it was my society, I would call it the Society for Clean Water or something like that. But I wouldn't define myself by being against anything. But anyway, we understand. Okay, so I don't move very much, do I? That's why I need people like Lara and other people. Yeah, so let's go and do some fun runs. So I'm not sure exactly what it is Lara is doing on the 2nd of May, but she's running up something in, is it Pennyfan, I think. That'd be a lot of fun. And I think Lara is doing some fundraising for, I know she's doing an Ironman, so she's doing something with raising funds for the air ambulance, Welsh air ambulance. I think she's doing some fun activities as well, or exercise, fun runs and whatever you call it. So that would be good to connect with that. Running up that hill with no problem. So anyway, so here we are then. Gosh golly wolly. Okay. Oh, right. I do love technology. I think technology is empowering. Well, it can be. It can, of course, also not be. So what do you think? Are we dreaming? Is this really real? Is this even happening? Am I even happening? Am I real? Right. So, so I basically in the eerste geld a dig I got for Lleol. So I was basically very unwell, and then I was diagnosed with autism, and that kind of saved my life, that diagnosis. And then I've been using my autistic traits to hyper-focus. I was also diagnosed with adult ADHD, and so as James was saying in one of our podcasts, that it can be the self-awareness traits. If you learn those, you can use that to leverage those and empower you in other areas, but it can also be very, very difficult. And then into the Gael, the dig I got for Lleol. And last year I had an experience, and as a positive I've become quite an expert at law, and the law back to the Magna Carta. I've been working on this amazing legal document, which is like Tolstoy's War and Peace. And then I'm of course using the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in our work with CWS and Kindling Humanity and Stories of Growth, and we are looking to keep doing meaningful podcast content. We're inviting people who are passionate about the environment, are passionate about community, passionate about positive change and teamwork, and I'd also like quite like to interview and speak with local entrepreneurs and businesses, etc. My heart goes out to female-led entrepreneurs, female-led businesses like Faye Burnett is initiating CYD with Nardi, and we got Lara from Pegasus Wales. We got, of course, Caitlin herself, Lucy, Leanne, Sue, so many. So yeah, I want to keep promoting businesses, and if you want a video done or a conversation, you can get in touch with myself and Caitlin, and we can give you a quote for more, like we produce a professional video for you. And also, if you want us to come and try your activities, I have to be honest, as a neurodivergent, it's like honesty is like, it's not optional, it's a must. But I can give you a positive review in the sense that I'll tell you privately what you can improve in your activity, and we'll put out something. So if you want us to have an experience and trying something, we can do that, and you can invite us for that. So, and the rest is silence. Is this really happening? Am I dreaming? Yeah, Vivo Barefoot. Hello, Vivo Barefoot. Yeah, so basically, Vivo Barefoot, I'd like to do a video endorsing your shoes because I love them very much. And I know Caitlin's got a pair too. We need a pair for Lucy. What size feet? What kind of size shoes do you, Lucy? We need some for Gus. We could have some for our whole crew for the Kindling Humanity, but we do love money, so you can give us some money for sponsoring, and then we can promote your brands. I know many people within the Outdoor Health Project and Wellbeing world, they use Vivo Barefoot, and personally I wouldn't wear any other shoes now. It's just so comfortable. Then of course we got COS, my Scandinavian friends. If you want to sponsor the CWS podcast, you can get in touch, or you can give us some clothes. We can do some filming around that, and then we can also, other people, fairly good looking, we do some modeling shots with our creative network. But anyway, that's where I kind of use AI to structure my thoughts. Finisterre, we'd like you as a sponsor for our Kindling Humanity Stories of Growth, Collaborations, Tonic Surf, and I want to tell a story about Duff and lining that up. And then once we start this, what we want to do basically is we have this amazing evidence-based research. So every time the Pembrokeshire Outdoor Health Project or the Kinefin Green Health Hub, they do courses like 6 weeks or introductions, then they have like people give their feedback and saying how they feel better now, or how they feel compared to when they started. So what we want to do, what Caitlin and I want to do, and what we want to do is create this thing where you have maybe a 6 weeks course, and then there's a seventh week that is an extra, which is a day where people come and do the activity, and it's filmed, and then there's feedback and sharing and amplifying those voices, etc. And then we want to put that out as part of the funding applications to create these structures where there'll be something all the time. So when somebody is not really they're not yet at a point of crisis, but they're just not feeling great. And they go to the GP, and my personal experience with my GP, I've got a wonderful advanced nurse practitioners and a fantastic. I just also know that when I go to my GP, they got a sign that says only one problem per consultation. So it's not exactly the most holistic. And I think we know as human beings that the problems we have is disconnection. We're disconnected from nature, we're disconnected from each other, we're disconnected from the natural world, and then we suffer. So some of that suffering can be transmuted by creating positive structures where people come together and do activities like going into the water. It is so good for mental health problems and also physical pain like fibromyalgia. And if you're neurodivergent, then you might find it very difficult to have a conversation with somebody in the supermarket queue. But you can go into cold water and then you can all be shivering together after, and it's really good. And the mindfulness nature, finding sit spots and all this sort of stuff, it's just really, really good. Both in a therapeutic way. It's not therapy, but it is very therapeutic. And similar thing, creativity. Creativity is not therapy, but being creative is very therapeutic. So for me, it's like this podcast is my baby, and I become a father, and I want to keep this podcast alive. So for that, I must create content, and I must reach out, and I need to talk to people, etc. And then similarly, the Kindling Humanity, Stories of Growth. This is really a community-led project. I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of people. So I am project ambassador with Caitlin, CWS, Caitlin with Svend. We are project ambassadors of this Kindling Humanity, Stories of Growth. And with Coed, Lleol, Small Woods Association, Alison Moore, Becky Brownwood Cormack, potentially Tara Crank, and then we have Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, Matt Lister, Joe Monks, Sue Christopher, Travis Christopher, Wild Swim Wales, we got Leanne Bird, Find Blue Freedom, we got Celtic Deep, Richard Rees, Emma Williams, just so many people. Maya Sparrow from Adarin, Andrew Duckmore founded Reconnect in Nature, Sean Davey retired from West Wales Action for Mental Health, but Angie Darlington. And so awards for all, we need that money to come through, and then we need the sponsorships finished there. Roll microphones. We need waterproof microphones, and then we have DJI. We'd love to collaborate with you. I'm filming this on DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which my mum gave me, and we have filmed podcasts with Shelley and podcasts with James, and Caitlin has lots of DJI, so we can do interesting collaboration. So you give us gear and we promote and we collaborate. And then Vivo Barefoot, I'd love you to invite you to be like a sponsor for the Kindling Humanity and stories of growth, and yeah, we want to make fire, and so we also need people to sponsor maybe firewood, and Marks and Spencer's, you can sponsor the food for the sessions if you like. Marks and Spencer's food will promote you, and who else? Kos, takk til min søster Inger Mette, tak fordi du sendte mig en smuk skjorte, og yeah, life is good. Life is what happens whilst you're busy making other plans, and thank you to all the dreamers. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I am not the only one. So, meanwhile on another planet, gosh golly, well, I'm really not in shape. I'm not in shape. Okay, so meanwhile, while all this happened, many good things happened to the world, many bad things has happened to the world. What I'd like to say is that we can all do something to make this world better, and sometimes we do need to look at our own darkness and work internally before we project on the world our own stories, etc. And yeah. But anyway, so this is CWS, Conversations with Svend, Caitlin with Svend, CWS, Kindling Humanity. We are project ambassadors of Kindling Humanity, Stories of Growth, with Coed, Lleol, with Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, with Wild Swim Wales, with Find Blue Freedom, with Celtic Deep, with University of Wales in St David's, with the Cynefin Green Health Hub, potentially Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum, Pembrokeshire County Council and Carmarthenshire County Council. And if you want to sponsor these amazing projects and get involved, please do connect with us. If you want to be on the podcast, please connect. Lots of love to you all. Bye.